The reason I believe I enjoy Attack on Titan so much is because this crazy story filled with plot twists, heroic deaths, and amazing characters all stem from one simple desire, and that's the desire to be free. Because at its core, past the Titans, past the shifters, the basement, memories, paths, past all of that, that's what Attack on Titan is about. It's about a group of people, a kid, who more than anything desires to be free. And while the ocean was initially supposed to be a symbol of freedom, all the ocean brought were more enemies and more walls that the people of paradise have to get through. So, the final episode of Attack on Titan's third season covers one chapter, as I expected, and that's chapter 90, titled To the Other Side of the Wall. The adaptation of this chapter also brings the anime's coverage of this series' 22nd volume to an end. So, if you anime-onlys want to pick up the Attack on Titan manga now that the third season is over, chapter 91 and the beginning of volume 23 is where you would want to do so. But anyway, chapter 91 essentially covers the rest of the meeting that began last episode, where Historia decides to make all of the knowledge that was gathered from Eren's basement public knowledge. And also covers a 1-year time skip where we now find ourselves on the island of Paradise with seemingly no or very few Titans to be found. Now, the staff did an amazing job with this episode, as per usual. They capture a lot of things ridiculously well. I love how much importance they place on capturing characters' eyes and facial expressions, as Isayama tends to portray a lot of emotions through them. And it may come as a surprise that I'm mentioning this, but I love how they kept all of Flock's dialogue. Isayama wrote Flock into the story for a very specific purpose, to essentially express ideals different to that of the ones of our main characters. Because in order for a character to have a change of heart or perspective, one must first challenge that ideology. And without Flock, no one would be willing to go against the emotions and ideas of the main characters. And lastly, but certainly not least, it's been about 3 days since this episode aired, and I still cannot get over the final scene of the episode. For one, Armin just looked beautiful throughout all of it. The man was absolutely glowing. And most importantly, Yuki Kaiji's magnificent performance at the end of the episode, paired with the OST playing throughout it, and what this moment means to our characters. It's honestly really hard for me to watch that final scene and not get emotional. A lot of this episode was ridiculously beautiful, and we have only the staff over there at Studio Wit to thank. Though while this episode was ridiculously beautiful throughout the entirety of it, there was a solemnness to it towards the end as well. A lot has changed in the past season, and I think one of the main hints at that is the fact that the goals that our characters established back during season 1 were all met, and yet there's still something really underwhelming about how this episode ended. And that's not a critique, by the way. I'm sure that that feeling was meant to be felt. For example, most of the Titans have been eliminated, at least enough for the people in Paradise within the walls to not really have to worry. And we finally made it to the ocean. We see some amazing things in that final scene. These kids who have been through absolute hell finally get to let loose and, just bask in the moment like they haven't been able to do since that day 6 years ago. Even Hange is having a fucking blast, but of course, Levi isn't, cause, well, he's Levi. The dream that Eren had forgotten is the same dream that Armin used to reel him back in at the end of this season's first cour. It's the dream that Eren used to reel Armin back in this episode. That dream has been met. It's bringing smiles from people who probably haven't smiled in a very long time. The ocean is in front of their eyes in all of its glory, and yet Eren tries, but he cannot enjoy the moment like everybody else. Because as I mentioned in my discussion for last episode, Eren has also changed. And there's one scene this episode that really captures all of it, I think. It's the scene where we see the Survey Corps are on their way towards the ocean, and they run into a Titan. Eren then stops, walks over to the Titan that has been making its way towards the wall for a long enough time that the grass he scraped away by dragging himself is regrowing. Eren then softly lays his hand on this Titan, calls it a fellow patriot, and lets it be. Now there's a lot to the scene that make it amazing, but I want to mention two things. One, judging Eren based off how he was in the beginning of the series, I doubt Eren ever thought he would show mercy to a Titan, thus showing us his development in the past couple of months. And two, this was actually an anime original scene. In the manga, Eren just refers to this Titan as a patriot as they ride past it. I know Isayama was pretty influential when it came to changes during the first cour of the series throughout the Uprising arc, as Isayama himself expressed his distaste with the way he went about writing certain things. But whether the change here was a decision made by Isayama or the staff, it was a change that gave the scene a lot of sentiment that it didn't have before. And it's in this moment where Eren's shift in perspective is fully acknowledged. For months, Eren has had to live with the memories that Grisha and Kruger left behind. For months, he's had to live with the fact that the very beings he had sworn to kill were all his patriots, whom were all probably once fighting for the same thing that he's been fighting for. For months, he's come to terms with the new, the real enemy, the world. And a part of the world that fears the subjects of Ymir is across the very ocean they are now standing on. As always, these are my thoughts, and I'm curious to read yours. If you're an anime only, let me know how you felt about this episode and any predictions you may have for the fourth and final season of Attack on Titan. Let me know what you think is going on in present-day Marley. I think it's important to note that in the time that has passed, Marley has not attacked Paradise. So, do you think they expect the subjects of Ymir from Paradise to attack and are therefore preparing for that? Or are they doing something completely different? Also, I'm curious to see what your favorite part of this third season was, out of everything, not just part 2, but part 1 as well. And if you're a manga reader, let me know how you felt Studio Wit adapted this episode and what parts do you think they could have done a better job with, if any. And also, feel free to discuss anything I forgot to mention in the comments below. I'd appreciate it if you liked this video if you did enjoy it, as it helps the channel out quite a bit. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, link will always be in the description. And I don't think I gotta mention this, but just in case, I will be covering Season 4 of Attack on Titan when it airs, fall of 2020, so be there or be square. Also, this Sunday, we will be picking it right back up with discussions on another Studio Wit production in Vinland Saga, so if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell, because otherwise, you won't be notified of jack shit. And with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.